What up, Salvador Briggman here. Welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified YouTube channel. And on this channel, we talk about crowdfunding. And specifically, in today's video, I want to get into some of the mistakes that I see many beginning creators making, many of my students, when it comes to launching a new campaign on websites like Kickstarter and Indiegogo. We're getting into that today. And if you are gearing up to a Kickstarter campaign, you're definitely going to want to tune into this video here today. And it's coming up right after this. So one of the things that I love doing, I got in this industry since 2012. I love talking about crowdfunding. I love educating about it. We started the podcast in 2015, Crowdfunding Demystified. I started this YouTube channel, I believe in 2016. I started to write some books in 2015. I'm gonna put together so many books that are pivotal when it comes to the crowdfunding industry. I also wrote the Kickstarter launch formula, which you can check out on Amazon or on Audible, really showing you the step-by-step process to launch a new crowdfunding campaign, as well as many of the tricks of the trade that people do not tell you, sort of the paint by numbers formula, if you will, to really smash your goal, right, when it comes to a Kickstarter campaign. But I was basically reviewing some of the data. So I have different people who do one-on-one individual coaching calls with me every single week, kind of calling in and being like, hey Sal, I've been watching your channel. I'm interested in doing a crowdfunding campaign, maybe on Indiegogo or Kickstarter, or maybe even an equity crowdfunding campaign, or I'm trying to build a new brand, get a new product out there. They call up and they're like, dude, help me with this. How can I really speed this up? Are there ways that we can work together, etc.? And when I do that, I ask a really important question, which is, how long have you been following me? Because I have students who've been following me for a year. I recently had a coaching call student who actually, been following me for a year, and they literally started with some of my videos about how to introduce a new product or invent a new product, and then eventually got to the point where they actually got the product and they started to run a campaign. So super exciting, right? With that being said, I've been getting so many new students, which is exciting, who it's the first time that they've ever even encountered things like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, crowdfunding, building a brand online, selling products online. It's the first time they've ever encountered that. And I don't know, I think it's the fact that honestly my videos have been doing super well recently, and getting more and more audience, that I want to put together this video for you. So if you are a newcomer to this channel, if you you haven't taken any of my courses or any of my programs or read my book, right, Kickstarter launch formula, then I want to make this video for you to go through a couple of different really quick mistakes that I see many beginning Kickstarter creators making. And these are mistakes across the board, not just in the physical product category in terms of design products or gadgets or gizmos, not just in tabletop games, not just in film projects or people that are raising money for films and more creative pursuits, right? Not even just people that are raising money for music or those types of campaigns. This is really across the board. That's what we are covering today. Mistake number one is to not have a proper duration in which you prepare the campaign to go live. So I have people who book coaching calls with me and they're like, hey Sal, I saw you on YouTube, or I came across your blog, crowdcrux.com, or something like this, right? I'm launching a campaign and I'm doing it in a week. Right? And I'm like, awesome, dude. Like, how long have you been preparing? And he's like, well, I've been preparing for 2 weeks, right? And it's kind of one of the most frustrating components because I still think this is a huge misnomer, a huge mistake. The fact that many creators are only spending a couple of days, honestly, to put together something like a campaign pitch video, a campaign page. They're not even thinking about the pre-launch period, is what you do before you actually go live to get people excited about the product. So that way, when you do go live, you get instant funding, you get to actually trigger the Kickstarter algorithm, and you can have people actually backing you who you've never met before, who are strangers, right? So the biggest mistake that I see is not having enough time to prepare and to not only think about in a mental framework. Like, I love the fact that you're tuning into videos like this, that you're studying, you're becoming a craftsman, right, when it comes to really studying the art and the science of crowdfunding. However, just learning and thinking and understanding, right, is not enough. You should definitely start with things like my book, The Kickstarter Launch Formula. You should start by watching videos like this and listening to podcasts. I have a great podcast out there on Spotify, on iTunes. However, you need a strategy. And if you don't have a working strategy that you are working at every single week, I would say you really haven't started the pre-launch period. You're more in the thinking phase, right? You're more like thinking about doing this. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Maybe you come back in a year and you're like, okay, I gotta actually finally buckle down, right? And actually get serious about this. But the majority of you who don't spend enough time in the pre-launch phase, in the pre-launch period, typically regret it when no one actually shows up and backs your campaign. So there are strangers out there who will support crowdfunding campaigns. You can reach people globally in doing a crowdfunding campaign. You can raise 6, if not 7 figures using the advice that I teach. However, you gotta do a pre-launch. That's mistake number one, not allocating enough time when it comes to doing a pre-launch campaign. Mistake numero dos, and I use numero because I'm in Miami and people here speak a lot of Spanish. And I actually have been learning more and more Spanish since I've gotten here. I'm actually adopted from El Salvador, so I've been getting more intermediate with my Spanish speaking. And in Miami, it's literally like a second language, right? So when it comes to this, I think that it's so incredibly important for number two. The biggest mistake I see is not understanding why people back crowdfunding campaigns and really understanding the ecosystem. So a lot of people just will see like really successfully funded campaigns. Maybe you see it on my podcast, maybe you see it on blog articles I've done, maybe you're just browsing Kickstarter or Indiegogo, you come across it in the news, you come across it on social media, you're like, gosh darn it, like I can't believe this nifty product raised, $500K. I gotta get something out there. However, you should also take the time to understand, why do people back crowdfunding campaigns? Why do they support it? Why do they become a part of it? I've spent so many years understanding just this simple fact that you really should identify this, because if you do, you can really optimize your campaign to hit some of those levers and triggers that are going to allow you to get funded quickly and also surpass your funding goal on Kickstarter, which is the next mistake they're going to talk about in just a second. Mistake number three is that so many people out there will set a massively ambitious crowdfunding campaign goal. And it's because they think, oh gosh, I need to raise, let's just say like 500K to really get this sucker off the ground. And they quickly learn, just looking at other campaigns, doing their research, and ideally also, seeking out more education and good information on the subject, that most people who are successful don't actually set that large of a goal. Typically, they set a smaller goal in order to actually hit that quickly, and then we fund very quickly, or last first couple of days, and they start trending really well in the charts. I would argue that you should be able to hit your goal within the first week, and a lot of my coaching students also, we really engineer it so that we can actually do that given their particular campaign category. So there is an art and a science to actually setting that goal. Don't just set a massively ambitious goal and everyone who's backing it seems like, oh wow, that's like a drop in the bucket, right? Really think about the marketing behind that goal and why you're setting that, and also obviously has to be in line with what is realistic and what will allow you to fulfill your orders. Mistake number four is also one of the most common mistakes that I see with beginning campaign creators. And I'm not saying that you don't have a non-interesting or a boring project. Believe me, I've literally seen thousands of campaigns at this point in time. Literally just even on my forum, kickstarterforum.org, we have over 10,000 users. On my Facebook group, we have more than 10,000 people. I have 10,000 in my LinkedIn group, right? We have literally tens of thousands of people. I've seen so many campaigns over the years. And I'm telling you that just because you believe that you have an incredibly interesting product and you go out there and you make a really great pitch video and you put this out there and you're like, what? Why is no one actually watching this video? Chances are the reason is because of this mistake. And that's the fact that you go too long with your pitch video. Now, I know it's really hard. There's a great quote out there, I think Hemingway said it, that it takes so much longer to write a short letter than to write a long letter. And as an author myself, I've written 10 books in the industry. I totally empathize with that fact. To make a really short, snappy video that conveys not only the benefits and the functionality of your product, but also why people should be interested in it in the first place, the problems that it solves, it kind of sells the sizzle right behind that campaign. It's hard to do. But if you are willing to create a video and there is a sweet spot, I would say going anything longer than 3.5 minutes is usually quite difficult to maintain attention when it comes to a commercial pitch video on a Kickstarter campaign. You're definitely going to regret it later on. And I've had clients who say that exact same thing. Oh man, I wish we had cut it down, right? And once the metrics come in, once you can actually see video completion rates, it's kind of like a no-brainer, right? So the goal of the video is not to tell the entire story from the time you were born and your father held you up on Pride Rock and really, you had this amazing, incredibly invention idea to all the way fast forward years and years down the road to the starts and stuff. It's not about telling the entire story. It's really about having a very well purposely designed video that's going to get people excited, and other YouTube videos out there covering the entire scope, storyboard, etc. that goes into that video. But that being said, don't go too long. That is my next mistake. Mistake number 5 is not allocating enough time to do this successfully. Now, unfortunately, if you come to me and you're like, hey Sal, I really want to get more fit. I want to put on more muscle, or I want to slim down, or I want to, accomplish this when it comes to my cardio, or I'm trying to prepare for a marathon, but I only have 1 hour per week to train. Can I accomplish that goal? I think most people, most like reasonable people out there would be like, no, you can't run a marathon just training 1 hour per week, right? The same thing is said of a crowdfunding campaign. But you're expecting not just to, launch a campaign, but the results that you're typically expecting are incredible amounts of sales, media attention, people following you on Instagram, following you on social media, you causing this like tsunami of activity by doing a massive crowdfunding campaign. And if you're doing that, you have to put a lot of energy into the actual campaign as well. You really have to think through the marketing, the video, the campaign page, the rewards, the strategy behind it, the tactics that go into it, right? Driving traffic, all of that kind of stuff. How are you going to stand out when it comes to the actual Kickstarter platform? And in order to do that, it takes time. So I actually did a survey at one point in time on kickstarterforum.org, which again is my survey, and I would say the majority of people are treating this like a part-time job. So what that means is that they're usually typically investing some time after work, on the weekends. They're really spending every single week, whether that's learning, educating themselves, listening to podcasts on the way to work, listening to podcasts while they're running, watching YouTube videos in the background, or taking some notes as they're doing that. And they're going from that beginning stage to then assemble the assets, getting the video together, getting the campaign page, having that marketing strategy, consulting coaches like myself, potentially also a digital marketing agency or partner to help them with the launch. They're really taking the process seriously because, again, if you get it right, the results are phenomenal. You can not only build a brand overnight instantly, but you can also get thousands of customers around the world to actually own your product, to support your future campaigns, and really begin to build like the foundation of your entire company. It kickstarts, as I say, your company, whether you're doing it on Kickstarter or Indiegogo. So the next mistake that I have is really not putting enough or allocating enough time in your schedule to actually take this seriously. So make sure you do that. Want to take all the stress out of fulfilling your Kickstarter rewards? Fulfillment is the turnkey solution that puts product delivery on autopilot. The Top Campaigns uses trusted high-tech provider to store, package, and ship their products. Focus on growing your business. Leave shipping to the experts. Don't wait. Get a custom quote from Fulfillment today. Link in the description. My next mistake is kind of more on the basic side, which is just not being aware of the functionality of Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Again, I have so many people who will even take some of my programs and still at that point in time have not yet started a Kickstarter account, have not yet backed someone else's campaign to see how they do communications, to see what the experience is like, right? So why not do it? Why not kind of be a part of the process while you're going through it? Even if you're only supporting another creator or artist or inventor, and maybe just throwing like $5 their way, or $10, or even getting their product for $25. Heck, you've probably spent more money on that than on Amazon. I know that I have, right? And just ordering a simple product on Amazon, or just maybe not, getting lattes for a month, and instead taking that money and going and buying some Kickstarter products. So really be aware of how other people are doing their Kickstarter campaigns, the functionality of the platform, for example, having add-ons, stretch goals if you want to, being able to do other things like updates, comments, communication, how do you do shipping, right? There's just a lot of little bits of functionality that you can learn very quickly if you're willing to take the time to study the platform and really understand how it works from a functionality perspective. Another and the last major mistake that I want to go over in this video, and I'll probably add a bonus as well at the end, is that I think that a lot of people aren't aware and typically make this mistake on the first time with their campaign, and the second time around they don't make the mistake again. So not only have I worked with a lot of people who have run multiple campaigns, in some cases 10 campaigns or more, but usually they will say this thing again and again and again when it comes to their next campaigns, which is not just viewing the campaign as a launch where you're going to get backers, you're going to get feedback, validation when it comes to the product, really test the waters, right, with your actual thing that you're coming out with, or your invention, or whatever it is, the creation that you're making, tabletop, etc. But to involve influencers or PR in your marketing strategy. So this is actually one of the most powerful ways to gain access to new audiences. And I've seen so many campaigns do this successfully that it can be a really powerful way not only to build trust and credibility, but also again, gain access to new audiences. So this is kind of like a secret bullet, honestly, right? When it comes to it, and it can really ignite a fire underneath your campaign. So much so that I even put together a whole free course just designed to teach you about PR. So if you're interested in enrolling enrolling in that free course, go and check out the link down below at crowdcrux.com/PR. That's crowdcrux.com/PR. And it will kind of warm you up to how to get media hits, how to get people talking about you. I've been cited by some of the most incredible publications worldwide, whether that's CNN, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Hypebot, Indiegogo itself, Shopify, right? I've been cited by all these major media publications, and I talk about that as well as the ways that I've gotten my clients as well into many of these different publications. So it's not rocket science. You can learn it. I'm not like some random like extraordinary human. I'm a normal person just like you. You know, I love going out there on my weekends and sometimes going paddleboarding. I love traveling occasionally, right? I love going to the gym and hustling. I love crushing it, showing up every single day, determined to work with me and my team to help you reach your potential, put out videos like this for fun, right? I'm a hard worker and a hustler just like you, and anyone out there can also get media mentions. So the final bonus tip, if you're going into this process, is number one, just take advantage, right? Take advantage of all of the access that you have nowadays to free information. I have so many videos out there on YouTube going through different elements of this process for free that you can dive into, that you can sink your teeth into. I got a free podcast where you can listen to real people nationwide, worldwide, from so many different socioeconomic backgrounds, raising between $50K to more than a couple of millions with their crowdfunding campaign across many different categories, many different industries, right? So many different types of products and just walks of life. Some people who never have made a product before, sometimes it's their 10th campaign, right? So I have so many different success stories and case studies on my podcast that I want to share with you, because I talk about this on like YouTube and people are like, "You're crazy, Sal, like this isn't happening." I'm like, "No, I have to prove to you, like, look at this," right? So many people are being successful every single week. And when I start to actually do that and show you that, then I have people writing in and be like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this works," and they try it out. And then I have people who listen to the show come back on the podcast who have been successful. It's like karma, man. Like, this is like some Buddhism stuff, right? Really cool. Like, we got this karmic thing going on where you're listening to these videos, you're educating yourself, you're listening to my audiobook, Kickstarter Launch Formula, you're going through the education and training every single week. You're showing up, you're setting aside that time in your schedule to be able to hustle, to work hard, to execute, to follow through, to push through obstacles. When you feel afraid, you're like, "You know what? I do feel afraid, but I'm going to be courageous. And no matter what, I'm going to continue to make progress on this." And it's okay. Maybe sometimes you have some life events coming, you have to take a little bit of a break and you come back to it, but that's the important point. You come back to the process, right? So I think that's one of the most powerful ways to ensure that you get those results in your life that you crave. But remember, you don't got to reinvent the wheel, right? There's so many incredible inventions out there that we can just use. We don't have to reinvent them. You're already inventing something new. You don't have to reinvent the process of getting a crowdfunding campaign funded. So if you do want to take action on that process, number one, got some free links down below when it comes to my free course on PR. I'll also include a link to my free Kickstarter course, which shares some tricks when it comes to launching a new crowdfunding campaign. How do you get traction quickly? How do you get traffic? How do you make a big, announcement when it comes to social media and have people actually listen to you? But there's also one other, which is that if you are serious about really speeding up this process, if you want to put this sucker on light speed, right? You got like an incredible car which you're driving, but if you don't have the right fuel, you ain't gonna go anywhere. So if you really want to make sure that you get to point A to point B fastest, and also you are able to avoid all of the potholes, the pitfalls in the road, that you're taking the best path possible, given your resources, given where you are, the stage of your product or your prototype, and also the current environment when it comes to Kickstarter and crowdfunding, book an individual one-on-one coaching call with me at the link down below. You can fill out some information about that. Tell me a little bit more about you. What are your goals? What are you trying to achieve? Tell me where you're from. Would love to hear that as well. I actually was living for many years in New York City. I got a bunch of clients who always will book from there. I've visited LA, so many different places around the world. I love traveling as well. Sometimes I'll bump into someone in Southeast Asia who's actually been a member or a viewer of the YouTube channel, which is super cool, right? So literally nationwide, crowdfunding and worldwide is seeing success. And if you're interested in really, like I said, talking about your strategy, tactics, step-by-step what you have to do to be successful, or even have me open up my Rolodex to help you with some introductions, or talk about how I can potentially help you with your project, which I do on a limited basis, we can also talk about that. So book a one-on-one coaching call down below at crowdcrux.com/coaching. Well, I hope that some of these mistakes at least got you thinking, got you warmed up, got you excited, and that you're a little bit more inspired. And if you are, give me a thumbs up because I did my job. Come subscribe for more videos just like this if you are a new viewer, and I will see you next time.